welcome to this week's reading PowerPoints. I don't know about you, but I am really enjoying this book at the moment. I'm loving the tension that's built every chapter as well. Just makes me want to read more and more with you every single day. But I'm going to slow it down and break down some chapters as well this week. So we need to pay attention this week because these chapters are going to be used for our writing as well. So it's quite good that we've got them on video so that we can always refer back to them. So before we start, how do you think Stella feels at this point in the story so far? Okay, so far we found out on Friday that she is being accepted into the club, but she has to say her pledge first. So hopefully we're going to find out what that is in this next chapter. And do you think Felix is happy with the decision that he has made to take Stella with him as well? Okay, let's get reading. Chapter 6. I am really sorry, Stella said to Felix as they walked down the corridor. What are you sorry for, Stella? He asked. Well, for not staying outside like you asked me to, and for disappointing you. Felix stopped and turned towards her. Listen, he said. This is your first expedition, so everything is going to seem new and strange and exciting to you. But Stella, you must must do as I say from now on. It wasn't easy getting the president to agree to you coming along, and if anything goes wrong with the expedition as a result, then I will certainly lose my membership of the Polar Bear Explorers Club. Do you understand? Stella nodded. The last thing she wanted was for Felix to regret bringing her, and she would hate herself forever if she somehow got him thrown out of the club that he loved so much. Yes, Felix, I promise. I'll be good, and do as you say and not let you down. Excellent. And in fact, while we're on the subject, there's one particular thing that you can agree to do for me right now. Anything, Stella said. I'll do anything you want. I want you to be nice to Ethan Edward Rooke during our voyage to the Icelands. Stella couldn't help herself. She immediately pulled her face. He doesn't seem like a very nice person to me, she said. Well, Felix replied, you hardly know him, and we don't always show people our true selves on first meeting them, do we? He's got a cold way of talking, and a sneering sort of face, and this nasty way of looking at you like he thinks you're less than him, Stella said. Give him chance, Felix insisted. It doesn't do to judge others too hastily, and sometimes people are fighting battles we know nothing about. What does it cost us to be kind? Nothing, Stella dutifully supplied, although it seemed to her that it did cost something to be kind sometimes. Patience, for a start, and pride, and willpower. But what did you mean about fighting battles? What battle is Ethan fighting? How should I know? Felix asked. I've only just met the boy. You do know something, Stella said, narrowing her eyes at him. I can tell. Really, Stella? Don't be such a nosy boots. Felix replied mildly. All you have to worry about is being kind to Ethan. It's not all necessary for you to know his life story in order to do that. All right, Stella said, trying not to sigh. Next time I see him, I'll try to be nice. Good girl. Felix squeezed her shoulder, then carried on walking down the corridor. When they reached the president's office, Felix knocked firmly on the door, and a voice called for them to enter. They walked into a large room dominated by a gigantic wooden desk at one end. Stella saw that this was intricately carved, with figures of snarling yetis serving as legs and holding up the large tabletop. Bookcases ran around the walls, filled with atlases and almanacs and travel journals, and a fire crackled in and spat in a grand fireplace. Above it hung a huge painting of a polar bear, sat on its haunches with its head thrown back, roaring into the frozen air and snow that swirled around it. Ah, Mr. Pearl, boomed a deep voice from the end of the room. You found the girl, I see. The president of the Polar Bear Explorers Club stood and walked around from behind the desk. Anglin Augustus Fogg was a large man, with the most impressive moustache Stella had ever seen. It was twirled and curled and waxed at the ends, and instantly made Stella think of walruses. "Child, this is the most irregular," the president barked. He even sounded a bit like a walrus. "We have never had any lady explorers at the Polar Bear Explorers Club, let alone girl ones. Goodness knows what other clubs will think of us." I want you to read the rest of this chapter 6 for independent reading now. So from Think of Us All, I want you to carry on reading this chapter, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do at the end. So we're going to do an emotions graph, just as we've done at school before. Okay, so give you a couple of minutes to stop the tape and read through these next few pages. Okay, so here we have our emotions graph. Now you might remember these from school when we plot a line graph for the emotions of the character in this chapter. So I've put the key events that happen in this chapter. So we've got apologising to Felix for wandering off, so that's what Stella does. When they're talking about Ethan and that Felix wants her to be friends with him. Stella's first meeting with the club president, how she feels. During her pledge that she makes, and Stella's realisation that she is finally able to be part of the expedition and the club as well. Now, if I just quickly switch over to pen, I'm going to show you how we plot it like we do at school. So, when she is apologising to Felix for wandering off, how do you think she feels? Does she feel excited? Does she feel nervous? Does she feel a bit disgusted or a little bit dubious, a bit jealous? Or does she feel disappointed? I'm hoping you're saying disappointed because it did actually say disappointed in the text. So, just come up from this line and I'm going to put a cross here. I'm going to do the first two to show you what I expect from your task in reading, okay? Next one, talking about Ethan, Felix thinking that they are friends. So, is she excited when they talk about Ethan? Definitely not. Is she nervous when they talk about Ethan? Or is she feeling a little bit disgusted and a little bit jealous and dubious about it? Definitely that one, I think. So her emotion would be there. Now, don't forget that we join with a ruler our points to the centre. So what I want you to do is to draw this graph. Now, remember, when we do this, we don't need to spend lots of time drawing out the emotions. You could write the emotions. So we've got excited, nervous, dubious, disgusted, whichever one you want to put for that one. And then this one you have disappointed, okay? So what I want you to do is draw the graph for me and then plot the rest of them for the events of this chapter. And we'll see how her emotions change, okay? So if you pause the video, and then you can copy the points off the bottom and the emotions off the side. Plot your own graph to show her emotions, and then we'll have a look at what I've done in the next one. So here is the plotting of the emotions. Now, we did the first two. So I've got this one here. So Stella's first meeting with the club president. I think she was definitely nervous at that point. So I've put her at quite a high point next to nervous. During her pledge, now I've gone in between excited and nervous because she's standing with the club president. She's realising that she's actually able to be part of the club, but she's also very nervous because he's a very important person. So I've gone in between those two emotions for that one. And an actual realisation that she's going to be part of the club, I've definitely put that as excited. So we've got a nice uproar of emotion as she gradually gets to the end of the chapter, okay? So when you post on Dojo, I'd like to see your emotion graphs, just like we do in school, okay?